So you have to do these 3 things if you want to quit drinking for good. If you don't do them, you're going to keep failing over and over and over again. That's what happened to me. And I see this in so many people who are trying to quit and it just doesn't work. They keep relapsing. And you're probably wondering who I am. Well, I'm currently just over 6.5 years sober. And I spent my life prior to that drinking a lot and taking substances. My drinking career was around 12 years. And I stopped at the age of 25. I'm 32 now. And basically, around the age of 18, I started my professional drinking career. At the age of 14, it stopped being fun. And from the age of 18 to 25, I battled with wanting to stop. I kept trying to do moderation. That didn't work. I took multiple months off. I could do like a month off at a time. I think, well, I don't have a problem. And I'd be doing that to prove to myself and other people who kept saying, oh, Jack, you need to stop drinking, that I didn't have a problem. But then it would come back even harder because I'd be waiting for that moment, you know. Okay, well, if I do 4 weeks, 30 days or whatever, or dry January or Stoptober, whatever it is, that shows to other people and myself that I don't have a problem with alcohol or substances. And I could do that quite comfortably, but I just keep going back even harder and harder, and the tension within those weeks of not drinking, it'd just be building. I was like a pressure cooker, and then it would bang, and I'd have a huge blowout which would go on for about 4 weeks. I'd drink every day, do so much other kind of things, and cause chaos. You know, chaos for me, chaos for my family, chaos for my friends, chaos for my work. I wasn't reaching my full potential. I held down, I'm a musician, I held down a pretty successful music career, but I knew that I wasn't reaching my full potential. And eventually, I had enough. Age 25, 2018, I worked out that I needed help and I needed guidance. I needed someone who knew, and I reached out to someone who knew had stopped drinking and had been sober for a few years, and I asked for guidance. And that moment changed my life. But the things I learned on that journey, I'd be lying if I said it wasn't hard. It's the hardest thing I've ever done, which is why it's the best thing I've ever done, because the lesson learned makes life now seem easy. And yeah, there's still hard moments, still difficult moments, but the lesson learned in that is incredible. So, you're probably wondering, what's step 1? Or what's the first thing that I recommend you do? And it's a must. You must do this. And it's to get all the facts and information. It's to get all the knowledge, to get all the ammunition you need to feed your brain to not even want to have a drink. If you learn about what it actually does to our mental state, our physical state, you build some evidence, you know, to think when you do want that drink, well, if I do this, if I take this drink, you know, don't quote me on this, I can't remember the exact statistic, but if a man and a woman share a bottle of wine, or consume around 10 units between them, that's 5 units each. And if you're not in the UK, a unit is, I think, a glass of wine is 2 to 3 units. So yeah, half a bottle of wine each. You reduce your rate of getting pregnant by about 50%. That isn't even moderate drinking. That's like basically not drinking. So if you think what else it does to you. So what I did was I read all the books. And I know that might sound boring, but I tell you what, books are the best way. Because they have all the information from people like myself and other people who have gone through this experience. And the reason why books are the best is because they're telling a story. And it was the first book I read when I was within 100 days of my sobriety journey. And it was a book called The Unexpected Joys of Being Sober by Catherine Gray. And not only was it full of facts and information about alcohol, she told a story that I could relate to. And I felt like someone understood me. Someone other than my mentor, you know? And I was like, oh wow, I'm not on my own. So not only did I have the ammunition and the information, I also had someone to relate to and to feel understood. And it wasn't this thing of I had to go to like a meeting and I had to sit in person. I could get this in a book, you know? And now we have podcasts. I think we had podcasts back then, but they weren't as popular. And there's alcohol-free podcasts, you know? There's a friend of mine, Sober Dave, runs a podcast called One for the Road. It's amazing. It has guests on from all over the world, from all different types of stories, ages, all different types of people drinking, you know. It could be someone having one drink a day which caused problems for them, or it could be 10 drinks a day, it could be 100 drinks a day, whatever. And again, you can relate to these people. And as humans, we need to feel connection and we need to feel understood. And that's one of the best ways is books, podcasts, even just conversations. Reach out to people on Instagram. So get all the information and listen to everything, read everything. Number 2, and by the way, if you like this kind of content, subscribe, drop me a comment. I'm all about this. I'm all about helping people like you, you know. So, but number 2, basically you need to accept. You need to accept the fact that you're done with drinking and this lifestyle. And that's it. It's not that you're losing something. People think, oh, I'm going to lose my best friend. That's how I felt, you know. I felt, actually, for a long time, I felt like I was mourning the death of my best friend. That person who had been there that whole time for me, you know. Whether that's good moments, bad moments. Drinking was always the thing which would make me feel comfortable in every situation. I just taken it away. But think about it as a bad relationship. And this is something Sober Dave says, actually. Imagine you've broken up with your ex and you keep going back maybe once a month to sleep with them. What good is that going to do? And that's the same with alcohol. If you keep going back every now and again, you're never going to truly get over them. And you have to accept that it's a bad relationship and you need to move on. And to do that, you can't focus on what you've lost. You need to think about what you're gaining, because I tell you what, you remove one thing, alcohol, you gain a whole life. For me, had I not removed it, I'd be dead. Now I'm sat here at the age of 32. I'm in some remote place in Thailand in a very nice hotel for hardly any money. I didn't have this life when I was drinking. I had like the opposite. And to be honest, I had nothing because I didn't have a healthy brain, you know. And no matter what now, no one can take this away from me. And that's everything. That's everything I've learned on this journey, is that the biggest success is having this internal wealth, you know, and that's all come from removing one thing. I've gained everything. And to do that, you need to create like an avatar, so to speak, you know. You have to think of like, okay, who do I want to become? You have to have a clear vision of like who you want to be. It's actually really exciting. You get to create this new person and start living that right now. You know, it's like people like very much live in the future and think, okay, so when I do this, or when I get to 100 days, when I get to 6 months, I'm going to feel like this. No, actually, you get the choice to feel like this right now, and you start becoming the person you want to be. You might be overweight. You might want to lose weight. You might think, okay, when I lose weight, I'll have more confidence. That's true, but I tell you what, you can start becoming that person right now. You don't have to wait for anything. You be that person. You walk out the door and say, right, I am not a drinker. I don't drink. If someone asks you, oh, do you want an alcoholic drink? You say, no, I don't drink. They're like, what? Not even one? No, I don't drink. yeah, what I used to, I actually only stopped like 20 days, and I'm doing this thing where I'm trying to like, oh, maybe I'll do 100 days and see how I feel. No, it doesn't work. You need to accept the fact that you're not a drinker, right? And if you wake up every day and say, I don't drink, guess what? After a while, that you become, your brain learns, the subconscious learns, no, I'm not a drinker. And eventually, when someone asks you, would you like a drink? You'll automatically say, without thinking about, I am not a drinker, with confidence. So that's number 2. That's like one of the most important ones, and one of the things where I see people slip up the most, you know. This living in negativity. It's like, no, think forward thinking, think positive thoughts. Okay, I've removed alcohol. This opens up all these options now. Think about the money you save, for one. Think about all the calories you don't consume anymore. Think about, this was a huge one for me, you can go to the pub if you really want to, right? You can have a glass of, I drink sparkling water now, you have a glass of sparkling water and get in your car and drive home with a clear conscience. That is a privilege when you've either been drink driving or you've been having to pay £50 to get home for a 10-minute journey after a night out in a taxi. That's just... So yeah, accept and create the person. Start living the life you want to live today. Don't wait for anything. It's now. So yeah, number 3, you want to remember why you don't drink. And this is something I did. I was in so much pain when I stopped. I said before about I felt like I was mourning the death of my best friend or my partner or whatever. To process that, I actually, this was my mentor told me, he said, write it down, get it out of here, you know. And I did. I actually have pages. I did it on my laptop. I actually recommend doing it in handwriting, but either way, just get it out of here, or even voice note yourself. And my friend said, just get it out, you know, talk in any way possible, but write down. So when you want to go and have a drink, maybe 100 days later, or even 30 days later, when you feel all right again, because you're like, oh, well, your brain plays tricks on you. It says, well, I feel pretty good now, so maybe I could have a drink. It'll be different this time. But no, it doesn't work like that, as we know. She wouldn't be watching this video otherwise. And you can go back and sit in that pain that you had when you were first watching a video like this, when you tried everything. And you remember why you stopped in the first place. And you can put yourself back there. And the best way is to read. Like if I go back now and read what I felt 6.5 years ago, it's devastating. Like the mindset I had then versus now is just unbelievable. I'm someone who thought that this wasn't possible. I thought that I would never feel like that. If you told me 7 years ago that I'd be sat here on the other side of the world, feeling really good about life, even though I have struggles and stresses right now, I can accept those because I know nothing will ever be as bad as how I felt back then. And your problems might not be as, with drinking might not be as extreme as that, but there's a reason why you want to stop. If you're questioning your drinking, it's most likely unhealthy and you shouldn't be doing it. But you don't need me to tell you that. But what you do need to do is remember why. You have to remember why you don't. And the best way is to write it down. Even to this day, I journal practically every single day. I miss the odd day, but 9 out of 10 days I journal. So, number 1, get all the information, read all the books, listen to all the podcasts, have all the conversations. Number 2, accept. Start living the life you want to live right now. Stop building that life, you know? Like, don't wait. Don't wait until tomorrow. You have to do it right now. Life's too short. Like, you never know what might happen tomorrow. And number 3, you need to remember why you don't drink. So when, because it will happen, this little voice in your head says, come on, have a drink. You feel good now. It'll all be fine. You can just have one. You can just moderate. A client of mine recently, he did, I think it was 2.5 months, right? And he thought, oh, I could go out on this work do, and I feel really good. I feel totally in control. He had a drink, bang, straight back there. You know, there's a reason why we stop in the first place, and remember that. So, subscribe, comment. Do you relate? I want to know. Cheers, folks. Peace.